Esports, or competitive online multiplayer video games, have become big business. The owners of one of the dominant competitions turned over $1 billion last year alone, and part of that is driven by spectators, not just players.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up and sit the head down! And don't ask me for shit, okay?
Yesterday we had some pretty convincing leaks that Tifa Lockhart is going to be the next DLC character for Tekken 7. No, we didn't. I made that up. I'm sorry, but did I get you? For just a split second did your brain send a jolt of chemical energy down your spine, causing your sphincter to tighten? Well, in that case, you've just experienced but a taste of the geriatric hype melange, the most potent drug in the universe. In their famous research from 2007, Van Boven and Ashcroft showed that people actually enjoy anticipating things a lot more than they enjoy thinking about experiences that they've really had. In terms of travel, 55% of the enjoyment comes from looking forward to a trip, 30% from looking back on it after it's over. Only 15% of the enjoyment comes during the experience. So with Tifa Lockhart, it's actually a lot more enjoyable to think about her being in Tekken than to actually have her in Tekken. So you have access to the best part of this reveal already. You just have to somehow convince yourself that it's going to happen. But in that context, maybe you can forgive me for lying. Was this a good idea, Kazuya in Smash? I mean, I know it's a very successful idea, I know it's a fun idea, I know it's very, a hype. If you're Nintendo and your goal is to get people talking and thinking about Ultimate, if you wanted the content creators to make videos with themselves eyes bulging and jaws dangling in the thumbnails, then it definitely went down well. But if you're someone who cares deeply about the competitive viability of Smash Ultimate, if you think a lot about balance, then was this a good idea, implementing him in this way? If you are a Smash player, by the way, hi, how very precious to have you here. I'm Frame, I'm a competitive fighting game player, I specialize in Tekken, but I also have a long history with Smash. Melee was the main thing me and my friends always did when I was young. I've played Melee and Brawl for thousands and thousands of hours, so even though I don't play competitive Ultimate, I do keep up with this game. I watch a lot of tournaments, I think I have an understanding of the meta, and I've seen many character reveals go down in this game, and even I can tell that something is very different this time around. Now, I can't say for sure if Kazuya is going to be an overpowered character in Smash Ultimate, but a lot of people who know what they're talking about definitely seem to think so. They're calling him an overpowered character with a very high execution barrier. Of course, there are also people who say that you shouldn't believe the hype, that the character is overrated, that the combos aren't true. We've seen that with DLC characters in fighting games a lot the last few years, and what usually happens next is there's a big event and 7 out of 8 characters in top 8 are that character, and it becomes a little bit more difficult to sip that sweet, sweet denial juice. One thing's for sure though, Kazuya is a very strange character for a Smash character. For some reason they have implemented a mechanically Tekken character into a game that isn't like Tekken at all. He's got backdashes and wave dashes and just frames and a 10 string and Tekken style throws and combos, and it got me thinking, where have I seen this before? An evil, demonic, badass character from a different fighting game coming in as a guest, bringing his own rulebook and mechanics and becoming a huge balance issue because of it. Well, if you don't play a lot of Tekken, you might not know this, but Akuma has been one of the biggest and probably the most drawn out and exhausting balance problem we've had in the franchise. It has to do with the fact that they implemented a Street Fighter character, specifically a Street Fighter 4 character, into the game without really making the two systems harmonize. It's kind of difficult to break down, but you can think of it this way. In Street Fighter, you spend a lot of time crouch guarding and you spend a lot of time in the air, and that puts a check on the power of lows. In Tekken, we never spend any time in the air, we never jump, and you also can't crouch in Tekken unless you have a very specific reason. It's just too risky because of the power of mids. That ends up making a lows disproportionately powerful in Tekken. Lows are very overpowered in Tekken, so powerful that they've had to implement a universal anti-low system known as universal low parry. What happens when you put a character like Akuma, who can turn unseeable fast lows that are basically guaranteed hits in Tekken, into full combos, because that's what he does in Street Fighter. Special cancels off of lows are things in Street Fighter, and so they should be in Tekken as well, right? Speaking of being in the air, Akuma has a lot of hang time. He's got Demon Flip and he can spend time in the air. That is checked in the Street Fighter system by the fact that there are all these attacks, an entire category of moves known as anti-air moves. In Tekken, like I said, we spend no time in the air, we never jump, and so anti-air attacks don't exist. So you have a character that can launch off of an unseeable low whenever he wants to, and he can jump into the air into a space where nobody can touch him. So guaranteed combos whenever you want to, and intangibility whenever you want to. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, it turns out that it is. Is Kazuya going to end up being a version of that for Smash? Well, like I said, it's difficult for me to tell, even though it seems likely. I'm just trying to understand why the developers insist on jamming these square pegs into round holes. Why do you want to retain the mechanics of the fighting game that you're borrowing from? Is it necessary? I think most people would have been happy with a version of Akuma in Tekken where his Demon Flip was something that you only saw during his Rage Drive or some other cinematic like his intro or outro. I think that most people would have been happy with Kazuya in Smash if the Electric Wind God Fist was his side smash. He says Doria, there's a bit of electricity and everybody's happy. Instead we get these weird control schemes that don't necessarily jive with the game that they're in. People have told me that this happens because these developers know each other and they respect each other's games and characters and franchises, but if that's the real reason, I have to say it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. The personal relationships of these people impacting the shape of a product that they then market and sell to millions of people. Who knows? The point is this, and I guess I'm finally getting to the point of my video 8 minutes in. The reveal of Akuma was one of the hypest things that has ever happened in this franchise, maybe in fighting games, and then we suffered because of the existence of the character for over 7 years. I wouldn't exactly call that a net gain for Tekken, so why are we so willing to go through this over and over? Is the hype just that addictive? This is a joke image that I created for one of my videos a while back that I called the DL cycle. It's accurate a lot of the time, which is kind of disturbing because it was supposed to be a joke, but what I never told you when I showed this image for the first time is where I got the idea, what this graph was originally representing when I found it. It was created by psychologists to show what happens in an abusive relationship when somebody keeps going back to a domestic partner who abuses them when they should probably know better. Is that telling? I don't know. It's probably in poor taste to even compare the two, and I think that's the reason why I didn't bring it up the first time, but I was sitting in my room the other day trying to make sense of all of this, and then I had an epiphany because I went on Twitch. And I saw a known streamer play a fighting game with an audience of about 1,000 people, and I realized that it's 1,001 people engaging with fighting games, but only one person playing fighting games. Fighting game culture isn't really about playing fighting games at all, only to a very small extent. If it is true that we enjoy anticipating things more and looking back on things more than we enjoy actually doing those things, I think that's actually beautifully represented in the content that we see on fighting games. All the videos are about the latest, craziest thing, and when there is no latest, craziest thing, people start making retrospectives, the characters and the franchises and the games that we remember. What videos consistently get the lowest view counts? Straight up gameplay. People are much more likely to watch a short funny meme video about Gigas than they are going to Dotaring's YouTube channel and watching one of the best Gigas players in the world play extremely high level matches. The beautiful thing about anticipating fighting games, or remembering fighting games, or discussing, consuming content on fighting games, drawing fan art of fighting games, jerking off to Fighting Game Rule 34, is that you can do all of those things no matter what happens to the competitive viability of the game itself. All you really need is the hype. I think that might be bad news for those of us who actually really enjoy playing competitive fighting games a lot, and I think there are kind of two ways of creating something that ends up successful. You can try and make something as good as possible, and if you succeed, then hopefully it finds its audience, or you can try and make something successful by design and design it by committee, so kind of the difference between a David Lynch film and a superhero movie. The dangerous part about going too far in the superhero direction is we jeopardize what made the game special in the first place. If all we're doing is sitting around and waiting and anticipating the next thing coming out, and then once it comes out we buy it and then lose interest really quickly, why should the developers worry about making content that is actually good, sustainable, and well balanced? If it doesn't matter to us, then it's not going to matter to them. And once it goes that far, then, well, in the words of Muad'Dib, hype will cover this place. Hype will cover you.